speak about the regulations and compliance related to anything related to this quantum computing or the standards which are coming related to quantum computing, cryptography, which is the latest
Right.
method, right?
Yeah.
Or that will help to understand what exactly how we can address such non-compliances
Right.
related to these type of issues.
Yeah, Satya, I think the question is really very valid. Like many occasions, it's not that like you start something because you feel something is not secure. So most of the time, the compliance play a very important role. It is like this: you go in the road, you say keep left, then only you do that.
Correct.
Otherwise, you have a habit of going in all the wrong directions. Okay, even after that, many people follow that. Leaving that aside, right? Like we have to be very we have to understand that like these guidelines or compliance is very important. Same way here in the context of like if you see from the security aspect also there are a lot of standard bodies or government bodies. There are a lot of cybersecurity framework which plays a very important role in guiding organizations, guiding individuals, guiding many government bodies how they should operate, particularly in terms of identity and its management, right? Like that is a very very important aspect. So in that way, like context, you just since you started talking about post quantum cryptography and all those things, like now like these recently NIST has published three algorithms around the post quantum, like talking about a kyber as a one of the algorithm, like talking about dilithium as one of the algorithms, sphinx as one of the algorithm. So there are three different algorithms being published by NIST around the post quantum cryptography, and it is being standardized. In fact, like many organizations were waiting for these standardizations to happen, so that like why do we need standards, why do we need compliance? See, the standards are always there for interoperability.
Correct.
Because unless you standardize something, right, two different application cannot talk the same language.
Right.
Today you take a TCP/IP. Why TCP/IP is all these days present? Because all the systems can understand this protocol very well.
Right.
That is very important. So same way for any standard algorithms, right? Like you also need a proper algorithm which has to be standardized. So you need somebody to comment it. So NIST plays some important role, particularly in the industry of cryptography, where they standardize most of these algorithms, right? Like come back and say, you have to follow this. This is the methodology. These are the algorithm. These are all the acceptable key sizes.
How is this like post quantum and quantum? Can you give me a little example of what is quantum, post quantum?
Definitely. See, I think the recent day development, like whatever we were working in with our kind of the computer systems, like we call it as like classical computers, right? Like this is what we were all doing all these days,
Okay.
which is completely based out of the bit 0 and 1. But now what is the next step which is really going forward is like it is like quantum computers are coming in as an one of the advancement in the industry of computers. Why we need this kind of advancement? Like obviously there is a lot of innovation happening around the computer industry. Earlier, like we used to have a 4 GB RAM, we used to have a very bigger frame.
Correct.
Now you get everything RAM in a very smaller form factor.
Right.
Take a hard disk space. Now earlier, even for a 40 GB hard disk space, you'll be having a very bigger hard disk. Like now, like even terabytes of things, you get it in a small pocket size hard disk where you can put it in an SSD disk and then put it in your pocket and go. So there is obviously there are a lot of advancement. Same way, the quantum computers will come. What exactly is the quantum computers? Is like is basically based on the quantum physics. It is based on a concept called as a qubits, where it is basically based on the superposition of the bits and also a lot of entanglement around these bits, right? Like these all based on the quantum theory. But what does it mean to me for the industry is like anything that we can do in a classical computer, it will be can be done in a matter of seconds. In a quantum computer.
Okay.
Now, fine, quantum computer is there for us to do things faster, fine. But what is the problem statement for us? The problem statement for us is like once the quantum computers become real, the most important thing that is going to happen is like anybody will be able to crack your existing classical crypto algorithms. Earlier, for an RSA 2048 bit, with a given kind of a computer, they say it will take billion years for you to decrypt it. That is with a classical computer.
Okay.
Now, when quantum computers come with some kind of a theory, they say that like with a given size of a qubit, you will be able to crack an RSA 2048 bit in 8 hours.
Wow.
Now you're talking from a billion year to an 8-hour transformation.
8 hours is easy, right?
8 hours is easy. Today everybody has more than 24 hours per day. So I can do 3 key without you doing it. Like what it means is like, see today, breaking means what do you mean by breaking a classical thing? So today, whenever we enter into your house, you need your key to open it.
Right.
Now assume that somebody finds an universal key which can open all the doors in this country.
Master key. Okay.
He has a master key.
Okay.
Now what it means, he
Okay.
can get into anybody's house
Perfect.
without you knowing it.
Wow.
That is what is the threat of quantum computers coming in terms of crypto industry.
That's a big threat, right?
It's a very, very huge threat.
What if that lands into a terrorist? Oh man.
It can be, don't forget about terrorists, it will be landing in everybody's hands today.
Oh man.
So
Oh.
every hacker, every
That's true.
person can play around that, right? Like now.
This is like a great sci-fi movie.
It's
But you are saying it's real.
It's real. It's going to
Okay.
be real. Like now when I say it's going to be real, earlier was expected that quantum computers with the kind of a qubits, it can break by 2030. It was the expectation earlier. But you know the kind of advancements are happening and all the things around happening. So there is a possibility that our expectation is like that can advance. What is this advancing? It can be 27, it can be 28, it can be 29, year 2020, anytime it can happen. But from any organization's perspective, right? Okay, till it's not come real, I can wait to hear back from the system. No, that is not the problem statement here. The problem is like, the most important thing that can happen here is like somebody can start harvesting your data, which is in your encrypted channel now, and keep it for their decryption when the quantum computers become real. So we call it as a harvest now, decrypt later attack. Okay, what is it? Why is it very important? See, now I can start accumulating all your data. After 3 years, when quantum computers become real, I can decrypt it. What it means? Any banking industry, I can know about their complete banking transactional history without their key. You're leaving the data open with that. Now, what is that he can understand? He can understand your banking pattern. He can understand what is there present in the asset. It is not about the bank. It can be a government. It can be a healthcare. It can be anything. Yeah. See, just assume that like your medical data is stored somewhere. Now, your data leaking in, it's a huge thing for insurance companies to know, okay, what is the pattern you have? What is the pre-existing diseases you have? Right? With all these things, it becomes a problematic statement like where that is the reason the quantum problem by itself, right? Like you have to start thinking whether I have to go and change today. Okay. Now, what is that? What is the advancement I have? That is the reason post-quantum cryptography also has come in. Okay. Such a way those algorithms are quantum resistant by itself.
So these algorithms are resistant
for resistant to the quantum computers. Now your classical algorithms like RSA or ECC or symmetric algorithm like RC4 or a DES or a triple DES, they are all not resistant for quantum computers. Okay. So that means you can't start using that in the real time. You should not be using in the real time. So you need an alternate algorithm, right? Like that's where the post-quantum cryptographic algorithms have come, and that's where the NIST has publicized these algorithms as of today. So this is around the post-quantum cryptography, right? Like also on talking about these identities and its life cycle management also, right? There are so many other regulations talking about EIDAS, talk about a framework which talks about inventorization and how you should manage identity. And there are so many PCI DSS by itself gives some recommendation. HIPAA gives some recommendation. There are a lot of bodies around various industry verticals. They talk about how you have to manage these identities and all those things. So that's how the compliance things is actually playing an important role. And at one point of time, these bodies are going to add some penalty if you're not enforcing within your organization. Why that is required is like that's where some discipline comes in. Yeah. Otherwise, what happens is like, okay, we may not think it is like this, like unless a threat happens at my house, you don't worry about like some theft happens in my house. I don't worry about it. That's not the case. Like anything happen around my next house, immediately I'll set up my camera in my house. Correct. So that I am little taking care of that theft aspect of my home. Same way in the industry, right? Like that's also happens. But this kind of an enforcement is also very important for us to have some guidelines for the organization to start with and move towards the journey where their identities are taken care. There is no threat aspect attached to it, right?
Excellent. Those are like what we can say. In my mind, I think quantum physics is very complicated for me. Just pardon me, okay? Very difficult, because it has so many numbers and so much to understand. But when we go with these use cases, what we explained, right?
Yeah.
That is actually very much relevant for those who believe like me, right? Quantum means that's all numbers, right? So I think the way you explained me, I think very simple to understand. What you are trying to tell is the current cryptography, whatever we are having, almost the way the hackers were able to crack it with brute force.
Yeah.
With quantum technology, having in the hands of the fraudsters, they will be able to crack everything and anything.
Right.
And they should be, I mean, every organization should be prepared for
Prepared
it.
for that.
Prepared
Exactly.
for it.
Yeah.
And you are saying the organizations are also already preparing
Yeah,
for
exactly. It is
That's-
a journey which has to be started,
Yeah.
I should say, as of yesterday.
As
right?
of yesterday. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with you. So that's a good point. And another point what you very well made is about the regulations, right? So what happens with the regulations in most cases, what we see is first business happens. So business is running. Okay, businesses are running and people are making money. Oh, since people are making money, then the theft happens.
Yes.
So that's when the police come with a rule.
Yes.
And then the rules become the regulations.
Right.
So there is a journey to reach there. So if you are already saying there are the regulations here, to me already there are some things already in place.
Right.
Practically in my mind, the maturity of the quantum cryptography already taking place to next level. That's why the regulations are already in here. Right. So that gives me a rationale of how many business cases already exist today in the hands of hackers, or how much data they might be harvesting.
Already is there. They are already harvested.
Yes. So all the data what we are hearing, every alternate day we hear a data breach in healthcare, in the banking, and even e-commerce. Almost every day.
Right.
We believe why they just taking the data, right? They might be harvesting all this information probably in future. So wonderful insights you have there. Audience, thank you very much for listening to us. We are going to come soon with our next episode soon. However, I hope this session is interesting for you, also given you enough information about quantum cryptography. If you want to know more, just reach out to us on support@csabangalorechapter.com. Keep watching this space. Signing off, Satya. Thank you.
Thank you.